And now for part one of a five-part series on next Sunday's Indy 500.
Need a part? C. Von Hausen. Stores in Sacramento, Carmichael, Citrus Heights, North Highlands, Orangevale, Roseville, and in Modesto, Stockton, Chico, and Redding.
Defending Indy 500 champion Johnny Rutherford qualified for the middle of row 2 at 195 miles an hour. Last year, he won the pole position at 192. More on Rutherford from Channel 3's John Malice.
Rutherford is in trouble. He's sliding. He's against the fence. The car flips upside down. This could be serious.
It was not serious. It was a miracle Johnny Rutherford survived this spectacular crash at Phoenix International Raceway in November 1980. Although his yellow chaparral was totally destroyed, JR suffered only minor injuries, and he soon came back. 4 months later, March 22nd this year, the 43-year-old Texan opened the IndyCar season with a victory at Phoenix, on the same track where the mishap occurred. So Lone Star JR has already proved not to be gun-shy, and now the three-time Indianapolis 500 winner is considered the man to beat here at the famed Brickyard again this year.
Lone Star JR has certainly come a long way since he first began racing here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. One of the reasons why Johnny has been a winner here is because he teamed with Jim Hall, the owner of this sleek-looking yellow chaparral, the one they call the Yellow Submarine. This car is not the exact same one he won Indy with last year. Johnny is sitting behind the wheel of a new chaparral this time around.
The car is lighter, therefore faster. The body is made of graphite, enabling Johnny to run 3 miles per hour faster than a year ago. Johnny gives all the credit to his car owner, Jim Hall, who spent countless hours and millions of dollars in research to improve the yellow chaparral.
He is the driving force. Jim is unique in that he has a great insight into race cars and probably futuristic designs, you know.
The car was designed by John Barnard. I oversaw it, and like most of the designs, but it's a very, very good car. I don't know whether it's the best one, but it's one of the best.
Bobby Unser and A.J. Foyt are running faster than JR, which means if he is to win his 4th Indy title and tie his fellow Texan A.J. Foyt, Johnny Rutherford will have to work harder than ever before.
It would be a great thrill to actually put together the 4th victory and to tie AJ for wins here at Indy. And that's what we're here to do.
Johnny Rutherford will begin the race in the middle of row number 2. But when it's over, he hopes to be on top again. From the auto racing capital of the world at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, I'm John Mallows reporting for Channel 3 Sports.
And now for part 2 of a 5-part series on the Indy 500 with John Malice.
Brought to you by Handyman, your headquarters for home improvement and automotive supplies.
All of the drivers you will see in tonight's Indy 500 story made the starting field for the May 24th Classic, and John Malice takes a look at the importance of money.
Roger Penske, ex-racer, owner of 13 Industries. His drivers are Bobby Unser, Rick Mears, and rookie Bill Alsop. Pat Patrick, owner of a steel and oil company. His drivers are Mario Andretti, Gordon Johncock, and Gordon Smiley. Bobby Hillen, owner of an oil company in Texas, and his driver is Al Unser, a 3-time Indy 500 winner. Jim Hall, ex-racer from Texas, hired 3-time Indy 500 champ Johnny Rutherford to drive his chaparral. And A.J. Foyt, car owner, builder of engines, driver, and winner of 4 Indianapolis 500 titles. The 5 car owners have one thing in common. They all have big money, and the money teams have the best chance of winning because they buy the best equipment and they have the best drivers. Take any one of the 5 car owners you just saw, and they think nothing of spending over $1 million on the car, driver, fuel, engines, pit crew, and a couple of backup cars. Millions more are spent on research to develop the latest innovations for Indy-type cars. Compare that to a small-timer here at Indianapolis, and the contrast is like night and day. Take rookie Jim Buick, an airline pilot from Colorado, for instance. He's the only one here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway without a sponsor, and his loss will be a big one, nearly $85,000. Jim has 1 car, 2.5 engines, and no backup. Some feel there is no room for a small-timer like Jim Buick here at Indy.
The top 15 places will be taken by the small or the top dollar drivers and the big teams, the big racing teams, but the rest of the field are made of small time.
How does that make you feel, though, a statement
Well, it
like
makes
that?
you mad. Makes you want to run all that harder.
This is supposed to be the American premier of automobile racing. So I don't think the guy that runs a local modified track is supposed to be able to come here and win.
Well, without the little guys, we don't have a body or a team, you know. You got to have 33 cars to make a race, and there's only so many big guys, so we need the little guys.
I don't think there's any way to equalize it. Some of the newcomers win a race occasionally, and that's what they're looking for. They're looking to improve and get into the top. There's only, in any kind of racing I've ever been involved in 20 years, there's only been a handful of teams that could actually win the race, barring unforeseen circumstances.
This year we're going to run, we're going to try to get as many laps in and as much track time, and it's a learning process. The whole year is going to be a learning process. Next year, then we're going to dig down deep and try to get something that's competitive.
Jim Buick will have to wait until 1982 because he missed this year's starting field at the 500. From the auto racing capital of the world at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, I'm John Mallows reporting for Channel 3 Sports.
Now for part 3 of a 5-part series on the Indy 500 with John Mallows.
This special report is brought to you by Von Hausen, import or domestic. If you need an auto part, see Von Hausen, with 10 stores in Northern California to serve you.
A record 9 rookies will go to the post in next Sunday's Indy 500, and John Mallows takes a look at 3 of the young stars.
Indianapolis is every racer's dream. It's like reaching the mountaintop. Indy is the granddaddy of them all because the best racers in the world compete for high stakes.
For a rookie, however, it is difficult because of all the distractions. The awe of seeing an A.J. Foyt, or even a Johnny Rutherford, or even the track itself is simply a breathtaking sight. All 549 acres of it.
The jitters soon go away after they pass a rookie test. That requires 20 laps at more than 160 miles per hour, and then 20 more at more than 170. For some, though, it's the toughest part, because the 2.5-mile oval is not forgiving. There is a fine line here at Indy. 22-year-old Josele Garza of Mexico City passed his test with flying colors and much more. Garza showed his nerve and skills by qualifying his car in row number 2 at more than 195 miles per hour. He is the first Mexican-born driver to qualify for the 500, but his dreams go beyond that.
Well, I would like to be remembered as that until I can win the Indy 500 and be remembered as the first Mexican to win it. But I would sure love it.
What's the pressure like on you right now? Do you try not to think about it?
I try and take the pressure off from me because it sure doesn't help to have pressure when you're driving around the racetrack.
His teammate is Jeff Brabham of Australia. He qualified in row number 6 at more than 187 miles per hour. Brabham is the son of former world driving champion Jack Brabham.
Well, I think in America, second-generation drivers are very common occurrence, whereas in Europe, it was very rare, and I think there's a lot more pressure on me when I was driving in Europe than I've experienced since I've been here in the United States.
And after failing to qualify here at Indy the last 2 years on his own, 42-year-old Bill Alsop of Vermont put his car in row 3 at 193 miles per hour. He gives all the credit to his car owner, Roger Penske.
You always seem to have either too much time or not enough time, and I think that the older hands, like the Penske team, can manage that time to the best advantage. I'm very flattered to be a part of the team and to be teamed with Rick Mears and Bobby Unser. My gosh, you know, Bobby Unser is almost Mr. Indianapolis.
Keep in mind that only 6 rookies have won the Indianapolis 500 the last 64 years. From the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, I'm John Mallows reporting for Channel 3 Sports.
And now for part 4 of a 5-part series on the Indy 500 with John Mallows.
Brought to you by Handyman, your headquarters for home improvement and automotive supplies.
The man who many believe is the greatest race car driver of all time goes after his 5th Indy 500 title this Sunday. John Mallows has more on A.J. Foyt.
A.J. Foyt is the first and only 4-time Indy 500 winner. His nicknames are Super Tex and the King. That's only because he's won more championship races than any other driver in history, 66. His finest year was 1964.
Well, it's just a good year. I still ran all the dirts, the sprints, and everything else, you know. Of course, 77 was probably the biggest thrill I've ever been the first man to ever win Indianapolis 4 times. But I'd have to say 64 because I was racing, you know, 65 races a year then.
But why has A.J. been a winner for so long? His sponsor, Jim Gilmore, can answer that.
What makes him go?
What makes him go is he wants to win. He's been a winner, and he wants this 5th win just as bad as he wanted his first.
A.J. is the most versatile driver in the world. He began at the age of 3, quit school at 11, and raced midgets, sprints, and stock cars. He even raced at the 1-mile dirt track at the old state fairgrounds here in Sacramento.
I would think the biggest thing, the thrill was there in 1960. I had to win the race and beat Roger Ward to win the championship for the first time. And I think that was one of the biggest thrills I ever had.
Foyt also builds race cars and engines. Winning is so important, sometimes his temper gets the best of him because he will not tolerate mistakes. He avoids the press as much as possible. A.J.'s garage area is roped off, and the door is usually closed, except for this rare moment. Cameraman Harry Sweet and I waited 5 days before Foyt agreed to talk. However, A.J. is a crowd pleaser. As he walks out of Gasoline Alley and down pit row, a big gallery flocks just to get a glimpse of the 5'11", 200-pound legend. Once on the track, Foyt and his Orange Coyote electrify the entire Indy 500 Speedway.
You were to look back over the years, A.J., you've won 4 Indianapolis 500 titles. What would a 5th mean to you?
Well, it mean an awful lot, you know. Of course, you know, winning 4, you know, you got to have a lot of luck, and winning 5, you know. Of course, I used to race in Sacramento, had a lot of good years out there at the fairgrounds, but it means a lot. That's the reason I'm still here running.
At the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, I'm John Mallos reporting for Channel 3 Sports.
And now for the 5th and final part of our series on the Indy 500 with John Mallos.
Brought to you by Handyman, your headquarters for home improvement and automotive supplies.
John Mallos concludes his series on the Indy 500 tonight, and I hope you've enjoyed his reports as much as we have. The Indy 500 is known as the greatest spectacle in racing. Tens of thousands visit the old Brickyard during May, even in qualifying.
It's a wild Friday night only hours prior to the first day of qualifying here at Indianapolis. And along turn number 3, thousands line up outside the gate. They camp overnight to assure themselves of a good seat the next day.
Who's going to win the Indy 500 this year?
Foyt.
Johnny. Texas, buddy.
Johnny.
Foyt.
I got a story.
Of course, A.J. Foyt!
Johnny Rutherford, of course.
And they are all here despite knowing it will rain overnight and through the morning.
Somehow, it just wouldn't seem right if it didn't rain at least once during the month of May here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Rain is as much a tradition here as the huge crowd of more than 400,000 which fills this grandstand on race day. In our second day here at the track, cameraman Harry Sweet and I ran into a downpour. And as you can see right now, there are no cars, there are no drivers, and most certainly, there are no crowds.
Now that was on Tuesday, but as we looked out the hotel room Saturday morning, more of the same. The first day of qualifying was in jeopardy of being canceled, yet a glance down 16th Street showed these racing fans have hope. By 10 o'clock, the rain stopped and people from around the country flocked in.
Because we came all the way from Baltimore, Maryland, and as long as we're here, we're going to come and hope they get some in.
Names and numbers.
I guess all anyone can do at this point is wait, buy a program or a souvenir, and watch the crews dry off the track and pray it doesn't rain again. Those prayers were answered. By 1 o'clock, the first car rolled out of Gasoline Alley and down pit row. The word is 2 hours of practice, then qualifying. And although rain kept many people away, normally qualifying day draws more than 200,000, and more than 400,000 attend the race. It's the biggest single-day sporting event in the world.
You know, it's like the Kentucky Derby. I'd have to say it's probably one of the greatest races. And not that the other races aren't good, because they're fantastic, but this is kind of the granddaddy of all of them.
But as Foyt and 8 others qualified, some didn't even notice. Teenagers in the snake pit along turn number 1 were too busy smoking pot, having sex, and taking off their clothes while mounted police just watched. From the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, I'm John Mallows reporting for Channel 3 Sports.
And now for part 1 of a 5-part series on the Indy 500 brought to you by Subaru. And John Mallows and cameraman Harry Sweet spent a week at the Indy track. And in today's report, they focus on a Sacramento team. Joel McRae and his team were terribly disappointed about missing the starting field at Indy. They had hoped to become the first Sacramento team to make it, but now they're headed home. John Mallows takes a look at their trials and tribulations.
The Indianapolis Motor Speedway is better than 2,000 miles away from the city of Sacramento. However, the Joel McRae racing team knows its stay here at the old Brickyard may be a short one. The team represents a low-buck operation trying for a long shot, a spot in the starting field of this year's $1 million race.
Money speaks louder than the roar of the engines at Indianapolis. Usually the richest car owner or driver wins the race. Example, here's car owner Roger Penske. He spends $3 to $5 million a year on the best equipment, 3 brand new Penske PC-10s, and the best drivers, pole sitter Rick Mears and young up-and-coming Kevin Cogan. The Sacramento team is headed by Joel McRae. He's a plastering contractor. His budget, $250,000, and he has only 1 car, a 3-year-old PC-7, 2 engines, and a 47-year-old Indy rookie, driver Leroy Van Connet, who has won several sprint car championships, but putting his car in this show is simply a dream.
Well, they always say the drivers have their dream. I think some of the car owners do too. This is probably once in a lifetime just for me too, you know, whether we make the show or we don't. I think it's just the thrill of trying, you know. It means quite a bit to me.
It means a lot more than the money you've spent, I assume, huh?
Definitely. Yeah, it's sort of the ultimate of all my racing and my father's racing, all the years we've been in it.
We got a pretty basic idea what we have to do, and the chief mechanic, Bill Eifeld, he's really, you know, seems to understand us all real good, even though he hasn't been here. So I got a lot of faith in him. I think that after we get through the 175, we'll start trimming everything out, and we'll give it a hard try. You know, I think we can get fairly close. We got a little older car. There's a lot of new cars out here, and it will be tough.
During our stay, Leroy lost a lot of valuable track time and experience. He broke the rear end of the car in one of the corners, and the crew spent 4 days replacing a broken pinion. Now, this crew is knowledgeable and hardworking. Chief mechanic Bill Highfield is a technical engineer for the state of California. Ron Landreth is a mechanic. Ken Cook, pit crew and handyman. And Roy Van Connet is Leroy's son. Finally, the crew got the car working, and they rolled the PC-7 out of garage number 39 and through Gasoline Alley. Leroy was all set to pass the first phase of his rookie test. 20 laps at 165 miles per hour. Riding the line smooth and sharp, Leroy passed with flying colors.
Yeah, the toughest part seems to be the first phase of the rookie test, where they require you to drive basically on the bottom of the track to keep a traffic lane open for the people that are going fast. It's very tough on to trying to set the car up for that. It's very tough on the driver.
Now ready for phase 2, 20 more laps at 175 miles per hour plus. But it meant changing engines to gain speed. But it also meant 5 more days in the garage working on the car, only to learn the second engine wouldn't fire. Not even the expertise of veteran IndyCar racer Jerry Carl could save them, although Carl drove the car at 181 miles per hour. Their dream of starting the Indy 500 was shattered. It was time to head home.
What will Leroy Van Connet do if he doesn't this year?
Well, I'll be awful disappointed, but, you know, I tried hard. We tried 100%, and we've been working nights, days, and we've never left nothing neglected. We've tried everything we can with the amount of money we got to work with. And if we fail, there's nobody going to be upset. Be a little disappointed, but we tried hard, and maybe we can come back and try it again.
From the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, I'm John Mallows reporting for Channel 3 Sports.
Bobby Unser and Mario Andretti are friends again, despite a controversial finish that saw Unser take the checkered flag from Andretti long after it was over. In part 2 of his Indy Series, John Mallows takes a look at the most bizarre ending in the 65 years of that race.
Bobby Unser was named the winner of last year's race 4.5 months after he crossed the finish line ahead of Mario Andretti. Unser was penalized 1 lap by the U.S. Auto Club, the sanctioning body for the Indy 500, for passing 8 cars under the yellow light instead of blending into traffic. Andretti was given the race, but a special 3-man U.S. Auto Club appeals committee concluded a 1-lap penalty was too severe, so the victory went back with Unser.
We were both used. We were victims of a conspiracy to break up CART in the USAC CART battle. And so that's what we were victims of, and we both realized that.
Setting the record straight, is that true?
Absolutely not. That's just pure nonsense. There's no reason in the world why I would want to break up Penske and Patrick.
Binford is the chief steward who assessed that 1-lap penalty. Meanwhile, Roger Penske and Pat Patrick are 2 wealthy car owners who formed a rival sanctioning body, CART, Championship Auto Racing Teams. Unser drove for Penske, Andretti for Patrick.
It's something that will never go down with me. There's no question about it. The way it was handled was just, to me, it was a mockery to what this place represents. And just something that USAC just bungled as far as I'm concerned.
The U.S. Auto Club officials are often criticized for incompetence. 500 officials are assigned to various spots on the track on race day. Their job is to report every infraction to the chief steward. Officials spotted Unser passing cars, so why wasn't he reported to Binford immediately instead of waiting to view tapes the next day?
We had no intention of having the capability of calling that infraction during the event. If we could, fine, but we never felt that that was the standard.
Why not?
Because it's almost impossible. This year it'll be impossible. I can tell you we can be 80% sure of it, but not 100%.
The controversy left Unser a sick man, both emotionally and physically, as explained by his attorney, Timothy Kelleher.
He had started an ulcer, and he was taking this medication. Of course, this did not help it any. And so with the normal everyday problems that Bobby or anybody else has, plus this, it just aggravated, didn't it? He was one sick man.
Well, it was really bad through last year. But I'm in good shape now, no problem. And I just had a lot of bitterness, and I'm getting over it like I told you, and it won't be too much longer. I'll be totally over it.
Do you think this could happen again?
Yes, I think it could happen again. I think it's unlikely.
There are a lot of memories here at the Indianapolis 500. Some are fond, others you'd like to forget, like maybe last year's race, better known as the agony of victory. From the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, I'm John Mallows reporting for Channel 3 Sports.
Well, death is a way of life for a race car driver, and one man who came close is still around to talk about it. 39-year-old Hawaiian-born Danny Ongaias will start in his 6th Indy 500 this Sunday. In part 3 of his Indy Series, John Mallows takes a look at his close call last year and his comeback.
The old brickyard is 73 years old. It's here where fortunes are made and lost, dreams are fulfilled and shattered. The Speedway sits in quiet solitude, as if it were waiting for a challenge. When it gets one, it often strikes back violently. Since 1911, 62 people have been killed here. 38 of those were drivers. Danny Ongaias was lucky. He survived a crash on turn number 3 last year, but he suffered a compound fracture of the right leg. a fractured left forearm, and a 6-inch tear to his diaphragm. And now, as Danny Angayas comes charging around turn number 3, the thought of what happened here a year ago has to go through his mind.
And take a look at the pavement. After a long year of snow, sleet, and rain, the skid marks are still here. And so considering young Danny Angayas was nearly killed on this turn number 3 here at Indianapolis, why does he continue to race?
Simply that I enjoy what I do, and things like that sometimes happen, and it's something that you have to put behind you in any walk of life and go on.
You have a better perspective on life or racing at this point because of what happened?
I don't know that I do. I don't think of things any differently. We're here and we're enjoying ourselves.
Quiet and soft-spoken, expressing himself about flirting with death is not easy. Maybe it's because he's come so close, twice within 1 year. First at Indy, then last month he destroyed a car in Atlanta. A former drag racing champion, Danny Angayas, is considered by some to be an aggressive driver, riding on the edge, sometimes taking unnecessary chances, like last year prior to his crash. The engine stalled, but Angayas wanted desperately to regain the lead. However, if drivers constantly thought about the danger, they wouldn't be able to race. Only the thought of winning keeps them going. From the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, I'm John Mallows reporting for Channel 3 Sports.
Except for faster speeds, the Indy 500 is much safer today than it was, say, 10 or 20 years ago. The most significant change came a few years ago when they changed from gasoline to alcohol, which burns cooler and has more power. Fire had always been the major hazard at Indy, and now all crews are required to pass a test on refueling cars. In Part 4 of his Indy series, John Mallows takes a look at safety changes.
You can't see this fire, but it's there. Methanol fuel burns invisibly. Last year, driver Rick Mears and 5 of his crew members suffered first and second degree burns during a pit fire. It happened during the refueling stage.
Let me briefly explain the refueling system here at Indianapolis. This is a refueling valve. The hose will come out on this end. This portion will be inserted into the car. And as it went in a year ago in the pits, it prematurely opened, spraying fuel, the alcohol, all over the car, and eventually, as you know, it caught fire.
Here's a look at the refueling valve this year. It's been totally redesigned. During the refueling stage now, if the connection between the valve and the car is not properly made, or if the driver pulls away too soon before the valve is properly disconnected, a secondary valve is triggered right here, automatically shutting off the supply of methanol fuel going through the valve. David Ayers, designer of the refueling valve, talks about the safety of the secondary backup system.
I think the valve is a good, safe backup. I think if the valve is not misused and the trigger operates, that we'll have a loss in the event of an unwarranted spillage of less than 2 quarts, and I think that's safe.
However, Ayers is very unhappy with the placement of the inlet valve on the car. It doesn't leave much room for air. The engine is only inches away, it's extremely hot, and any spillage in this area means igniting a fire immediately. If that happens, there will be little or no room to escape for those in the pits. Some call it a disaster waiting to happen. It almost happened last year, but Speedway officials claim they can't control the pit crowd of nearly 2,000. Fire Chief Cleon Reynolds explains how the pit area has been improved for safety.
I have a hunch we're going to be able to control it better because we've put a complete 4-inch water hose all the way down in the pit area. The pits have been enlarged this year 5 feet, so that gives us a little bit more room. The retaining walls have been raised about 12, 13 feet of concrete so they can't be hit and knocked over. We've just done about everything we humanly possibly can. We built curbs on the outside of where the tanks are so that if the tank should happen to break loose, the fuel could not go underneath the stands.
Can something like this happen again, Rick?
Oh, it can always happen. You know, you never know. But Indianapolis has really
they've really worked hard on making changes to help prevent that, and if that does happen, to help get it rectified quicker.
Rick Mears will undergo more plastic surgery for facial burns. Meanwhile, 250 firefighters will be standing by on race day, equipped with dry powder, water, and jaws of life, and hopefully they won't be needed. From the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, I'm John Mallows reporting for Channel 3 Sports.